Hi guys, this is your girl Wakeji Kamore and welcome to Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 8 of 2nd Chronicles. If you haven't read this chapter for yourself, please pause this recording and read the chapter for yourself so then you understand what it is that we are talking about. All right. So this chapter highlights Solomon's achievements in building towns, fortifying cities, and he also continued to offer sacrifices to observe the festivals as prescribed by the law of Moses. Solomon ensures that the priests and the Levites and the gatekeepers are performing their duties. He established remarkable leadership in ensuring a smooth running of the country, and his wisdom and commitment to serving the Lord remains at the heart of his actions. At this point, when we're reading about Solomon achievements in this chapter, he hasn't started going south. Although there are some things that he has already done that are already off. They're already off. So first, let me just mention this. That the first verse says that it took Solomon 20 years to build the Lord's temple and his own palace. If we're going to separate like how many years it actually took for the temple and how many years it took for his palace, is that it took 7 years to build the temple and 13 years to build his palace. You see the imbalance there? That it took 7 years to build the Lord's temple and it took 13 years to build his palace. So please remember, as he's building this temple and the palace, he's getting wood. I think it was cedar that he was getting from King of Tyre, the name King Hiram of Tyre. And please note that he pays this guy with one city for every year that he is supplying them with Tyre. This is found in 1 Kings, I think chapter 9, if you guys read, if you guys remember that story. So at the beginning, when he starts to build the temple and then he continues to build the palace, he's giving Hiram a city for every year that he's supplying him with cedar. And so because he has taken 7 years to build the temple, he's already given away 7 cities. And it's going to take 13 years to build his palace. He's going to give another 13 cities. So in total, there are going to be 20 cities. And when Hiram comes out to see the cities that he'd been given, he actually didn't even like the cities because the cities were on the northern side or on the mountains, like not in the mountains, they were actually on the mountains, so they couldn't be productive. Like huwezi panda vitu juu ya mlima, so they couldn't be productive. So Hiram actually did not like the cities. But the thing that you have to know is that this land that Solomon is giving away, these cities that Solomon is giving away, are cities that were the inheritance of the Israelites. So at the beginning, it's not even supposed to be given away. And then it's not even giving it away like from the tribe of Asher to the tribe of Naphtali. No, he's giving it away to a king who is a pagan king. So he's taken 7 years to build the temple and 13 years to build his own palace. In total, 20 years, and he's already given 20 cities that belong to the Israelites that are they're actually supposed to be for the tribe of Asher. Is it Asher? Yes, Asher. Asher were the ones that were supposed to have inherited that land. But Solomon ameipeana. There are so many things that he's done in this chapter already that are a little bit off. One of them is that, you remember when the Israelites were about to enter the promised land, God was very clear. You will find the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, and you need to completely destroy them. Do not make any friends with them. Do not try and take them to be slaves. Just completely destroy them. Kill them. God was not mixing words about what it is that he wanted the Israelites to do once they get to Canaan. And in verse 7 of this 2nd Chronicles chapter 8, we see that there are still people that are living in the land of Israel, even though they're not supposed to be living there. Like the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. These people are still living in this land they're not supposed to be living in. And then Solomon goes ahead, instead of destroying them and removing them, he goes ahead and makes them slave for his labor. Makes them laborers and forced laborers for whatever it is that he needed to do, or rather whatever it is that he needed accomplished in his courts, which is also something that God was very against. I'm going to take you back to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 17. And this was just simply a guideline for a king. And I'm just going to be reading Deuteronomy chapter 17 from verse 14 to 17. And this is what it says. You're about to enter the land your God is giving to you. When you take it over and settle there, you may think, we should select a king to rule over us, like other nations around us. It's funny that God already knew what these people are going to do. If this happens, be sure to select a king, be sure to select as king the man the Lord God chooses. You must appoint a fellow Israelite. He may not be a foreigner. All right. The king must not build up large stable of horses for himself. Hi, let's pause there. So the next two verses are basically instructions for what a king should not do. Once you become a king of Israel, these are the things that you shouldn't do. And I'm going to go one by one on these items, and then we're going to go back to 2 Chronicles, the chapter that we are in, chapter 8, and just see whether King Solomon was a good king or was a bad king. Was he obeying God's commands, or was he not obeying God's command? So the first thing he says that the king must not build up large stables of horses for himself. Let's go back to, let me just go back to, sorry guys, I'm trying to find out which verse it is. This is 2 Chronicles chapter 8 verse 6, and it says, he also rebuilt Baalath and other supply centers and constructed towns where his chariots and horses could be stationed. Please note, in Deuteronomy, it says the king should not build large stable of horses for himself. This guy is not just building stables, he is taking cities and rebuilding them and making them the station for his horses. So he already has too many horses than he should already have. He has already now done things that he shouldn't have already done. And then it says, continuously, this is in Deuteronomy, I'll send his people to Egypt to buy horses, for the Lord has told you, you must never return to Egypt. All right. So, King Solomon, is he doing the things that he's supposed to be doing? First, King Solomon already has a wife that is a Pharaoh's daughter. He didn't just go there to buy horses. He went, bought horses, and came back with a wife. Came back with the actual daughter of Pharaoh. And the Lord was very clear. You must never return to Egypt. But according to this, did Solomon return to Egypt? Yes, kwa sababu huyu son of Pharaoh, daughter of Pharaoh, walikutana naye wapi? Unafikiri walikutana naye kwa stage? Hawakutana naye kwa stage. He must have gone to Egypt. So, he's not doing what it is that the Bible should have said he should do. The king must not, this is verse 17, this is in Deuteronomy. The king must not take many wives for himself, because they will turn his heart away from the Lord. Did King Solomon take many wives for himself? That we already know. King Solomon took many wives for himself, and in the end it says that they turned his heart away from God. And they did, because when you have many wives and one of them is saying, oh, build for me a shrine because I'm from Egypt, and me, I don't worship your God, atamjenge a shrine. And then the other 700 of them will say, build for me a shrine because I worship which God. He ended up building so many shrines, and he ended up being so turned away from God. And that was his downfall. The other thing he says in verse 17 in Deuteronomy, and the king must not accumulate large amounts of wealth in silver and gold for himself. This guy accumulated so much. We're going to see that in the next chapter. He accumulated so much gold. His cups were of pure gold. His spoons was of pure gold. His throne was pure gold. He had like 12 lions on the steps of his throne, pure gold. This guy had so much gold. So much gold that silver, hata Mungu alikuwa amesema ati gold and silver. This guy didn't even accumulate silver. For what? It was just like gold, 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 gold everywhere. So if we were to go by what it is that God gave us guidelines for a king in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse, I think 14 to 17, you realize that King Solomon did everything that he was not supposed to do. It's like he took the guideline of the things he's not supposed to do and decided those are the things he was going to do. it's like oh, wacha mimi nifanye hizi vitu tumeambiwa tusifanye, wacha nizifanye zote. That is exactly what Solomon did. As far as he was such a blessed king, as far as he had such wisdom, the thing that happened for Solomon is that he started to think that he can do this by himself. He started to give himself all the glory. There's actually a verse in Ecclesiastes that says, Solomon says, I sat down and I thought to myself, I had a conversation with my heart and I told myself, I have attained wealth, I have attained wisdom, so I have attained what? Like he actually thought he had done this by himself. He started running it like his own show for his own glory and completely forgot about God. And forgot that God is the one that had blessed him with all this wisdom, with all this wealth, and with all this fame. So, my lesson for you is this. God will give you so much. God will bless you. And by then, sometimes when you are starting off, you're starting off your career, you're there praying, God has already given you those things. Then when now you are high flying, you've completely forgotten that it was God that actually gave you the blessing. That was God that you begged, that you prayed to when you were starting out. And now you have forgotten about God and you're there high flying and thinking that you're doing it all by yourself. That will be the start of your downfall. That will be the start of your downfall. There's something else that I noticed in this verse, in this chapter 8 of 2 Chronicles. In verse 11 says that Solomon moved his wife, Pharaoh's daughter, from the city of David to the new palace that he had built for her. He said, my wife must not live in King David's palace, for the ark of the Lord has been here, and it is a holy ground. So he moved his wife. So he knew that this wife, first, she's a pagan wife. She's not a believer. She's not worshipping God. She worships different gods. So she shouldn't stay here because this is a holy ground. Let me tell you guys, how many times have you tried to separate your life and you'll be like, this is a holy place. I have this life. It's almost like you're separating your life. Like you have this phase where things are great, where you are, you're known to be a worshiper of God. You're known to be such a good person. And then you have this other life that you're willing to take away from the presence of God and just say, wacha ikae hapa kando. This part of my life is holy, is nice, but this one, Pharaoh's daughter, she will not live in this temple. She will not live in this palace because this palace, the ark of the Lord has been here and this is holy ground. The more you try to disintegrate your life and put everything in a box, and it's like you're deciding which laws, which commandments of God to obey, which ones not to obey, which part of your life can be godly and which other part cannot be godly. Imagine you've lost the plot. You have lost the plot. I really don't want to make this long. I really do hope that you can sit and just think about the things that Solomon did that were great and the things that he did that were not all that. And then just study his life and try and figure out where did he lose his plot? Because at the beginning, just a few chapter, the previous chapter, he was worshiping God and he was like doing so good. Why has he lost his plot? That's the question. And ask yourself as well, is there anything that God has blessed you with so much that you have forgotten who the giver is? And now you are in your thought, you're only thinking about the gift. You're not thinking about the giver. You're only thinking about the blessing and how far it has taken you. You're not thinking about who actually sent you that blessing. Thank you so much for listening and see you tomorrow.